The cars were still waiting for us where we'd left them days ago. A few shamblers had taken an interest in them, but mostly to find a place to hide from the sun mercilessly beating down on all of us. I remained in the car, my fingers tight around the M4 I'd scavenged from one of the guards in the underground lab below Dallas, as I watched Nate and the few others who were more or less uninjured clean up the squatters. My mind was singing with the need for violence, but I was in too much pain to risk it. Nate wasn't exactly unscathed himself, but at least it had been a full day since he'd last bled through the thick bandages covering half of his torso. I was, at best, 2 more days away from that. I'd managed to stay behind the wheel of our car for the first 2 hours of our journey out of Dallas, doing my very best to concentrate on the lights of the vehicle ahead of me and not crash into the obstacles around the abandoned train tracks we were following. We had to stop then, both to give the drivers some rest to be able to stay focused and to take care of the injured. It had only taken a single sharp look from Nate for me to lumber over to the passenger side instead, teeth clenched against the whimpers and groans trying to escape my compressed lips. Nobody needed to tell me it would have been best to wait another day to give my body enough time to heal, but there wasn't a single one of us who didn't constantly hear the ticking clock breathing down our necks, so we'd left as soon as possible. My injuries were the most acute, and since I managed to remain on my feet, or sitting on my ass, we left. When we'd entered the abandoned train tunnels, we'd done so through a heavy iron sliding door. It didn't come as a surprise that our exit was barred in a similar way, although the door was a gate large enough to allow the vehicles to pass through, which made sense since the route had been used repeatedly before. Burns, Hill, and Cole had checked the door cautiously, and also made sure there were no booby traps left for us on the other side. The same process had repeated itself twice more until the last section of the tunnel spilled us out into the much wider debris-strewn drainage tunnel that eventually led us back to the surface, miles outside the Dallas city limits. There were some zombies around, but not enough to be alarming to us, and it had taken us less than an hour to backtrack to the highway and the cars we'd used to get to the city. I couldn't have been the only one who was angry at the fact that, had we known where to look, we wouldn't have lost a good portion of our people in the infested labyrinth of the city and could have pretty much strolled right up to the lab. That we likely would never have made it from the tunnel to the garage and on into the lab, since it had all been set up like the perfect kill chute, was of no consequence. But it made me wonder why they hadn't secured the other side of their complex better. Realistically speaking, they must have relied on us all biting it long before being able to knock on their front door. That still didn't make up for everyone we'd lost.